I wanted to read this email from Russ. This is not in the rundown, but there's a lot of stuff here. So I told him I could either email him point by point, or we could do it more generally in the mailbag. 2 questions. He claims both have basketball. They're not. They're both basketball. With Jimmy Butler in the finals, it seems clear the Sixers, if the Sixers had run it back, they would have made the finals this year. I don't think that's necessarily clear, but whatever. Making the fact that we let Butler go that much more frustrating. It seems like the Ricky believes the Sixers let him go because Ben either tacitly or explicitly told the Sixers that he wanted to bring the ball up more. The actual reporting doesn't seem to confirm this. Your own Weitzman seems to think it was a true mix between the Sixers wanting Horford and Josh, wanting to keep Brett, and Ben wanting to be on the ball more. And publicly available evidence doesn't really support the theory that Ben would have refused to play with Butler, even long term. The Sixers drafted Fultz and started him with Ben last season. Ben was apparently totally okay with letting Shake Milton bring the ball up the floor in the hostage bubble. It seems more likely to me that the front office just liked Horford, Josh, Brett more than Butler, especially because their work life would be easier without Butler, who's an asshole.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was the only thing was like Simmons said no because he wants to bring the ball up. Like I don't think that's what it is. I think sort of just like all of it. I think all of it is right. Like it was Ben. It was, I don't know if they were, I think the decision was probably already made before like Horford and Josh came into the picture.
Long before,
you know?
Long before.
And I again, when they were making that decision, they were also leaking the fact that, or not even leaking it. Josh Harris talking to the press that like, we'll see about Brett's coaching. What was like in the Toronto series? Wasn't it during the beginning of the Toronto series? It was like.
Well, and by the way, Brett, like, you know, wishing all of the writers good luck after the series, like he thought he was getting fired.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, maybe it was just like an easiness thing. Maybe it was just the buildup of like everybody's aggravations over the course of the season was not, it was just a not worth it for them type of thing. I'm not sure.
I think this email sort of like says something that we've said that we haven't said. Like I've never said Ben said him or me, but like that's also saying that like if you came out of your house one day and you had 2 flat tires in your car and decided not to drive to work, like sometimes you have to read the room and make decisions based on what you know to be true. Remember, it wasn't like they were committing to Jimmy Butler for 1 year. It would have been a 5-year commitment to Jimmy Butler, given what was going on here. And I think like them choosing to keep him here was choosing chaos, given what the problem between Ben and Butler was. Again, I also want to say this, like I've said a number of things on the podcast have been said in the past that have come to fruition and been true. Like there is no a sources told me on this podcast, but like if you think that a lot of times I'm talking without any information, you're crazy. Like you're crazy. I am not going to report. I've never ever done that. I've never gone reports tell me, but it's also no accident that like I'm not saying things just because I believe them. Sometimes I'm saying things because I know them to be true. It's not an accident that the first thing that leaked out during free agency day was Ben Simmons' contract extension. This is like not an accident. Like I think they believe they had to make a choice between Ben and Jimmy at that point. Although it encompassed a lot of things, that's the choice they were making. Now, if you want to say they shouldn't have made, like, that was the easy thing to do and they should have done the hard thing, I guess, but there's not a lot of like, Ben did not seem totally okay to me with Shake Milton bringing the ball up. Like that happened a total of 2 games. And then what we did see in the bubble, by the way, was like that Ben that we saw in the first game, the on the elbow Ben and shooting threes Ben and the power forward Ben, didn't happen again. it didn't happen again. He started bringing the ball up. Like it looks sort of like the old Sixers with Ben. So I guess I just don't believe that he's as okay with everything as you think. I think it is very clear that he didn't want to play with Jimmy Butler. I think it was very clear that Jimmy Butler didn't want to play with Ben if he had to split ball handling responsibilities. And you saying that they should have just like signed everybody and dealt with it, maybe, but like I also don't think that this situation was prepared for that. I
think the Sixers have a total lack across the board, everywhere in the organization, of people who like are like, for lack of, to sound really like pious about this, but like have like integrity and having like a really straight up conversation about what's going on. I think that Joel and Ben, I think, set the tone because they're not like sit down and like hash things out people. They have their own, you know, they're largely absent from like the Sixers leadership, which is Tobias. They kind of like do their own thing. They both do. I think that, not to say they don't care, but they're not like hey, let's like work this shit out. Let's talk about this so we're on the same page. And I think Brett was the same way. I think there was that one story, I'm maybe you can remind me, but like there's one story of Brett like, why did nobody tell me about this with Embiid, when he like his staff like confronted him about Embiid being like shitty to, as a rookie, Embiid being shitty to like the trainers and stuff, and like
was that your own? Was that in the book?
It might have been.
I sort of think it was in the book, right?
And we know that Scott O'Neil is not like that, and Brian wasn't like that, because Scott especially is like a slimy, like, go behind someone's back and report something person, and not like a let's have a conversation on the level, because he's got like, you know, 18 Machiavellian games he's playing at any given time. And so I think Jimmy was a guy who was like, you know, for better or for worse, obviously in many organizations it's been for worse, but like he's a guy that wants to like hash it out and be honest, and sometimes be like caustically honest. And I think that rubbed people the wrong way. And I think the Sixers are mostly like, when you leave a meeting in an office where you're like, okay, we're having like an all hands meeting, whatever it is. I don't know what it's like in regular world, but I've had a couple, like the whole writing staff comes in and you talk about like, hey, here's what's fucking going wrong type of thing. Mm-hmm. And with the intent of, we're going to come out of this and we're going to know, like, we're going to be on the same page. And it seems like, and I've been in these meetings also, where we just have like a meeting and people are kind of like saying some things and not saying others, and withholding and other stuff. And then you leave the meeting, you're like, what the fuck was the point of that? Did we get anywhere? And I feel like Jimmy's a guy who wants to hash that shit out, and the Sixers are filled with people who don't. And it's just leadership void all the way top to bottom. I don't think Jimmy's a fit everywhere, but clearly in Miami, when they do have that, you know, Pat Riley style, like, let's fucking talk about this shit and this is how it's going to be, everybody say their piece type of way, that works. In here and many other places it didn't. And I think that's not that like you have to be like heat culture shit like so obnoxiously, and not that like being an asshole is actually good, but you got to have leadership from the top down that sets the tone, and the Sixers don't have that. Right.
And I like, also, this is the first year Butler was in Miami. His first year everywhere was fine. And I would also say that there was far more.
What about here?
What's that?
He was only here for 75% of the season.
But his first year in Minnesota was fine. He was in Chicago for a little while. All I'm saying is, like, let's not let, like, if Ben Simmons shoots, that'll be the next question. The other thing I would say, his second question, the other thing I would say is that, like, wait, what was I going to say? Jimmy. Oh, there was more chaos here than was reported with Jimmy. Like, that's 100% true. 100% true. There was more chaos here than was reported.
And that's about, so, like, I would imagine that's everywhere, though.
But like, well, you can say that, but you could also say that about, like, there are, like, he made it clear that, he made it very, very clear behind the scenes that that things were going to go his way or he wanted out of here. And for a team that didn't have a way, there was no option there. You know what I mean? Like to your point, it's his way or the highway is a much easier thing to demand when like the team doesn't have a way, I guess, is what I'm saying. And then the second question, no trolling, I swear. I think you guys are straight up defaming Ben for being, quote, a head case and not shooting threes. By the way, I don't think we've ever called him a head case. No. And his coach, his brother, and someone else like confirmed in an article with interviews with Ben on ESPN.com by Jackie McMullen that he had seen a sports psychologist about the shooting. So that wasn't like us. He shoots 60% on free throws. He's shown almost no touch around the rim, and he's obviously not comfortable putting up threes. What actual impact on the team would chucking 2 wide open threes per game have on the team? Not guarding bad 3-point shooters is the main tenet of the majority of the best defenses in the league. No one would guard him. Putting Ben in the corner means he can't even do the stuff he does well, pass and rebound. If you're worried about, quote, spacing, you need actual shooters, and Ben will never be a good enough shooter. The idea that Ben is not shooting is a top 10 problem with the Sixers offense is crazy. But it's the most disgusting because we love to talk about players' mental blocks because it allows us to take superhuman athletes like Ben down to our level. But Ben seems like a nice guy and is a great basketball player. Maybe we shouldn't perpetuate the nonsense.
Yeah, so that's wrong. All of that is wrong.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
It's like it's a choice. He's making a choice not to shoot, and he should. And he's done it in places not on the NBA court. We see it in practice videos. He posts those videos. He talks about shooting. His brothers talk about shooting. Like everybody wants him to shoot. Everybody does. And the idea that, like, now the Sixers don't have, theoretically, if the Sixers had, like, Donovan Mitchell, for example, or even, like, someone worse that gets to the rim off the dribble from, like, more than 8 feet away, it's good to have space in the lane.
Right.
And even if they're not, even if they don't cover Ben, even if you're sagging 20 feet, not 20, but like 10 feet off Ben on the 3-point line. If you're sagging off him and you're looking the other way, then he can then dart in and as a cutter and like get an offensive rebound off that. Like just simply being spaced out. You can't control what the defense does, but you can control what you do, and having more space to do stuff is a good thing. And compared to a lot of the Sixers shots that they got this year, I would absolutely take a wide open Ben Simmons 3 to most of those shots, 100%. He can shoot. He can shoot. Is he a great shooter? No. But he's not going to get to become a, like, fine league average, even Giannis level, hopefully better than Giannis level type shooter, unless he does it regularly. So why should we artificially cap the kind of player he can be if he adds things to his game? It's like saying, like, why would we ask this person to go left when they are so good going right? Stop making them go left. Like, get better at it. You can improve, and then your game can evolve, and we can be a better team.
Well, I think the biggest, first of all, we've never called him a head case. No. We're not defaming him, and like it's obvious. It's become a mental thing for him. And by the way, I don't think we've ever been, like, just because it's true and we say it's true doesn't mean that we're saying that is like easy or whatever. But the other sort of like false, the other straw man here is that we think he should shoot even though he'll be very, very bad at it. Like, my point always has been, you have to be good at some of these things. Like, I don't want him to shoot and be bad at it. I want him to shoot and be good at it. That's my point. And if the point is he's a bad free throw shooter, he doesn't show good touch around the rim, he doesn't shoot threes, he doesn't get to the free throw line, and he's not the center, then you shouldn't be paying him $30 million a year. Like, what really comes to this is that, like, if he can't play on ball in the playoffs in terms of like a lead playmaker because of this thing. And he can't play off ball because he won't shoot and he's not the center. And he doesn't do things that centers do. And he doesn't even shoot free throws well. Well, then you have to rethink like him being a $30 million a year player, I think. Like the thing that makes him valuable will be that he can do all of those things. And I don't think LeBron had 1 year where he was a really, really good 3-point shooter. Even Jason Kidd, who everyone points to,
right,
or Rondo became willing and capable, as that says. And it, like, I don't know, it makes an enormous difference,
yeah,
I guess.
It's very clear on the podcast that I think Ben Simmons is better than you think Ben Simmons is. I think he's better than
currently
you think he is right now. And
yes.
I want him to shoot. I want him to shoot
right.
threes. I want him to shoot open threes. I'm not asking him to all of a sudden be Tyler Hero and like take shit off the dribble and, you know, duck around screens to shoot threes. Like, I'm not asking that. I need him to space the floor and shoot open threes when the ball is swung to him so that it changes the way the Sixers are defended and the type of shots that they can get. And I want them to get a guy who can dribble to the basket and score, because they don't have enough of those guys, so that there are more, you can use Simmons in more versatile ways as a screen and roller, passing out of the short roll, whatever. And I have always said that I want Ben to take either one more dribble or one more step so he can dunk more inside and not do the like sort of fading away from the rim and shying away from contact. All of those things will make Ben a top 15 player in the league. And he's close to that. These are all doable. He just has to like decide to do it.